Good evening and welcome to the Creswell City Council meeting for March 14, 2022. Would you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We start the meeting tonight with a public forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to the council. Do we have any requests that have been turned in to speak?
We do not.
Okay. Then we go to number 2, which is mayor's report. And the first item up tonight is a recognition of Mike Howard, who has been serving the city of Creswell for 20 years as our water treatment plant operator. Mike, do you also operate the sewer?
On weekends.
On weekends, okay, I'm gonna come down here and come up and meet me. Okay. So I told Mike this was his big opportunity to be on TV tonight, because we're live streamed, so look right up there. Well, we're not there.
There.
There you are.
That's me. Profile.
But the other side will be shown too.
Okay.
So Mike, when did you start with the city? Do you remember the date?
March 19th,
March 19th,
2002.
2002. So 5 days will make 20 years.
Yep.
So do you have a highlight of those years, something you remember that sticks out in your mind?
Not really. When I first started here, we only had like 1,000 people, and it's really grown since. So it's been a growing position.
So when you began, you were working out of the old water
plant.
treatment facility.
Yep.
So when I first became mayor, Mike gave me a tour of the water and the sewer plant. And Mike also took me through the old water treatment facility. So have the councilors, have you had an opportunity to have a tour of the water treatment facility? You should, because it's very, very fascinating, but you should also ask Mike if he can take you through the old building, which maybe you still can do that.
Yep, still can. Still sitting there.
Still there, and show you the process that we used to use for purifying water, which is quite fascinating. So, and maybe you even get sewer treatment facility on weekends. So Mike, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
20 years of serving Creswell.
Thank you.
And this is for you. In recognition, I'll have to show it off and then you can take the box home. It says, presented to Mike Howard, thank you for everything you've done for us, March 2022. So this is from the city. Presented to Mike for 20 years. Mike, thanks again.
Thank you.
Second item on the agenda is the acceptance of a resignation letter from Sid Voorhees, and it's addressed to the council, and it says, thank you and greetings to all. After much consideration, I have decided to resign from the Creswell Airport Commission. Please make this the official notice of my resignation. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Sincerely, Sid Voorhees. And I know Shelley's here tonight. Do you have any idea how many years Sid served on the Airport Commission?
10 plus.
10 plus. He's a long-time airport user. He assured me he's going to continue to be an airport user and to continue to hassle Shelley in his own way, his own kind way. So, council, we need to accept. Do we need to have a formal acceptance of this resignation, Roberta?
At least consensus.
Okay, so I'm looking for a consensus from the council to accept the resignation of Sid Voorhees from the Creswell Airport Commission. Do I have consensus? And then we will also now post this vacancy. And council members, I encourage you, if you know someone who is an airport user or an interested Creswellian, please ask them to turn in an application form for the Creswell Airport. I have a proclamation to read tonight. I received a very nice email. Michelle Ambert actually did and forwarded it to me from Martin McClure, who is the Vice President of the Creswell Grange, notifying us that April is National Grange Month. And so he asked if we would make a proclamation to that effect. So I want to read this proclamation. Martin said, I'm not able to be there tonight because we have Grange meetings once a month on the second Monday of the month. So they're not able to be with us tonight. This says, Office of the Mayor, City of Creswell, Oregon, Proclamation, April 2022, Creswell Grange Month. Whereas Creswell Grange, located at 274 West Oregon Avenue, Creswell, has been an active part of the Creswell community since 1913. And whereas Creswell Grange members volunteer their time to present a variety of Grange organized community service programs, projects, and events. And whereas Creswell Grange members volunteer their time to support and assist other local community organizations, including the Creswell Food Pantry and the Creswell Chamber of Commerce. And whereas Creswell Grange members work to honor and support our area's veterans. And whereas Creswell Grange members continue to provide support and assistance to our community throughout the pandemic. And whereas Creswell Grange is a nonpartisan, non-sectarian organization that welcomes new members who wish to help with community service projects. And whereas the month of April is recognized nationally as Grange Month, therefore be it resolved, the Creswell City Council hereby proclaims April 2022 to be Creswell Grange Month and encourages all citizens of Creswell to recognize the accomplishments and community service of the Creswell Grange. So we want to honor our Creswell Grange. 1913, they've been here over 100 years serving in our community. So that's a very wonderful thing. And then there's one last item I need to add that didn't get added previously, and that is that tonight I'm going to give a new charge to the Public Safety Committee. So councilors, you've all received the charge. I will read it. The Public Safety, this is an additional charge to A, participate in the June 2022 Cascadia Rising exercise and give a report to the council. B, review the City of Creswell Emergency Operations Plan and present a report to the council. The timeline is to give an overview of plans for the Cascadia Rising exercise to the council at the May 23rd work session, then bring a follow-up report on the exercise to the council at the June 27th work session. Also to bring a report on the Emergency Operations Plan to the council at the September 26th work session. And our committee is comprised of Chair Misty Inman and Councilors Osborne and Shuck. So, council members, I'm looking for your consensus for that new charge to the Public Safety Committee. Okay, so charged. Now we move to correspondence. And as you noticed, council, we received notes that no correspondence this month. So we didn't receive any correspondence this month. We move to item 4, which is the consent calendar. All items listed are considered routine and are enacted by a singular motion in the form listed below. There is no separate discussion of these items unless the City Council requests an item be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. Councilors, is there anything that needs to be removed for separate consideration? Okay, then I'm entertaining a motion from the council to accept the consent calendar as presented. Councilor Castilla.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Second from Councilor Osborne. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council will vote on the motion. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes unanimously. I did want to mention one item, just a reminder, council, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, is the special presentation at the high school by Mr. Chad Hymas. And I've had an opportunity to get a little more acquainted with him through looking online at some of the information about him, and he is a new charge to the Public Safety Committee. Okay. So one of the things I discovered about Chad Hymas is that the Wall Street Journal recognizes him as one of the 10 most inspirational people in the world today. And he's coming to Creswell. When he was 27 years old, he was working on his farm in Utah, and a 2,000-pound bale of hay fell upon him. and left him a quadriplegic. But he now travels around the world independently, without an aid, and speaks over 200 times a year. And just the things that I saw online, and I watched one interview of him, and I was like, wow, okay. So that's going to be a community event Wednesday night at the high school. He is speaking during the daytime. He's going to give an address to the middle schoolers, and then a second address to the high schoolers, and he's meeting with all of our school staff as well. So we have a rare opportunity Wednesday night, if you're available, to come out to the high school and hear him speak. Just wanted to remind you of that. Okay, we move to the administrative report. Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. The first report that we have is the bills, and I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you might have on the bills tonight.
Counselor, any questions for Manager Amberg? Counselor Clark.
Yes, thank you. I noticed on page 26 of our packet that there was I moved it and then it's gone. Okay, that there was a $55,000 payment or bill from St. Vincent de Paul, and I just wanted to follow up on that.
Yeah, that was a payment to St. Vincent de Paul on our community development, community block housing rehab program. It's a community development rehab block grant.
Great, thank you.
Get that out right.
I had one question on the same page, and that was the WH Pacific Inc. for 76 or 78,000.
Correct, that is for the runway project.
Okay. Council, any other questions on bills for Manager Amber?
Okay, the next item is the county sheriff's calls for service report, and I see that we have Sergeant Denham here to answer any questions you might have on that report.
Well, it's good to see you, Sergeant Denham, fully back in uniform.
Yeah, it's good to be back in uniform.
Back on the job. Wonderful. Councilor Prachu.
Yeah, you know you're going to have to get up when I'm here because I'm always going to ask a question. My first question today, of course, though, is actually around the Measure 11 because I wanted to see what you could tell us about that.
Those are a couple of sex-related calls that we're currently investigating. They come out as Measure 11, but in the end, they usually are either unfounded or come out something much lower. But when it first comes in, somebody comes in and claims they were raped by somebody when they, in the end, they might have been touched inappropriately or something like that, then that starts out as a Measure 11 until we get to the end of the investigation. So most of these one of them is an adult-related one and the other one is a child-related one. Both historical, nothing that happened recently.
Would this be the one that was reported in the paper last week?
You'd have to probably refresh my memory.
Okay, yeah. I actually heard about it from my neighbor, and she wanted me to ask you about it, and I think that it's probably the same thing because she said it was rape. So.
Yeah, I don't know what was reported in the paper.
Okay, yeah, I didn't have a chance to check it out, but we can catch up.
One of them is very historical. That involves somebody who's already locked up. So, at least until he's 25.
Okay, and then my second question is my usual question. Any change to our homeless or transient population that we should know about?
Oh, we had a couple roll into town and we had a couple roll out of town at the same time. We've had some reports of people that are camping over at the park. We made them leave. So we've got some transient folks coming into town and staying for a day or two, and then sometimes they might have some issues and then they leave. We do have one that's kind of got kicked out of the place he was living by his ex-girlfriend, and he's got some mental health issues and struggling with coming into City Hall and behaving weirdly and not really doing anything evil or dangerous. He's just kind of creepy. So we've been dealing with him for a couple of weeks now, trying to get him to get back on his medications, but he doesn't like his medications, so end up dealing with that. So, but other than that, David's back in town, so I don't know where he had gone, and he resurfaced again, so he's back with his dog. Our normal, unhoused folks that move around the city are back, so.
And then, I guess I have a third question, because I know that we'll have Coffee with the Cop this month, right? That's probably, I'm guessing, going to be on the 26th? Is that a Saturday?
Yeah, that'll still be at the VFW since we can't guarantee what the weather's gonna be like, so we'll continue to utilize that avenue of use before we go back to helping out some of the chamber businesses and things like that.
How is
So,
it?
yeah.
What are the hours on that?
It's 10 to noon on that day. And then we'll have one more in April, and then we'll see what happens after that.
All right. Thank you for that. And then I encourage anybody that's interested in knowing what's going on in law enforcement in town to attend Coffee with the Cop, because you always get something out of it that you wouldn't get otherwise. Lots of good info, neighborhood watch stuff, whatever. We keep you pretty busy. We kept you past 12 last time.
Yeah.
So
Last month was a good month. We
Yeah.
had several people that were new.
the
And
last two were pretty well attended.
even a couple kids came in, so.
Yeah, and then also just to mention again that ride-alongs are
Yeah,
still
that's
not-
all
are
fully
now
back
an
open,
option.
so any counselors that are interested in getting a little bit of time with either day shift or night shift, I always like to tell you, if you plan for like an 8-hour thing and you do 4 hours with the daytime and then jump over to the nighttime person, you're gonna see how Crestfall is between daytime and nighttime. When we had our flip-flop just recently with the deputies, two of them, the two nighttime guys decided they wanted to go to daytime for a little while, and they're paying the price for it now. They can't run around and pull cars over as much as they get to at night and dig into things, because the calls come pretty fast and furious, and usually they are those sex abuse cases and things like that, and child abuse, and they have to go out and they have to spend a bunch of time investigating those. So that's the cost of daytime. Everybody's out. That's when everybody makes their reports. So, but feel free to get a hold of me and fill out I've got a form you got to fill out, and you can choose when you want to go, and we'll get you hooked up with a couple deputies.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions for Sergeant Denham?
All right.
Thank you very much. Okay, back to our city manager.
Okay, the next report is the city attorney's report. That's pretty straightforward. The code enforcement report follows that.
So I had two questions on this one. It says there's a total of 25 code violations, 19 were proactive, 6 were complaint driven. Can you kind of explain what the proactive versus the complaint refers to?
Sure. We have a code enforcement officer now that works 5 days a week, and he can go out and actually proactively identify cases, and that's what that is. He goes out and he goes to places that have had issues in the past, and he also identifies new ones, basically with parking and garbage. And then there's also the opportunity people have to report, and those are the reactive ones. And so those are complaints that come into City Hall that we record on our iWorks system, and they go to him, and he goes and investigates them.
Michelle, is your microphone on?
Yes,
Okay.
the little red light's on. I know it doesn't sound like it's on.
Doesn't sound like it. So to file a complaint, you either need to come into City Hall, get a form and fill it out, or you can file a complaint online.
That's correct.
Okay,
And then our code enforcement officer will go out and investigate.
okay. All right, any other questions on code enforcement, council? Okay,
And then the last report you have is our permit, our building permit report. You can see we still have a good number of permits, not quite as many as January, but we still had a good number of permits in February that were issued.
okay. Then we move on to item 6, which is council action items. First item, resolution 2022-04. Manager Amber?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution establishing a road ad hoc committee. It's something that the mayor had asked to be prepared, and it will, the purpose of the ad hoc road committee is to provide advice and oversight to the city council on road issues in the city.
Thank you. So I want to go ahead and read actually the resolution for members of our public and one of the appointees. The appointees will include members of the public, and one of them is here tonight, Don Eric, sitting right in the front row. So this says, whereas the City Council recognizes the ongoing need to repair and replace streets and sidewalks within the city, and whereas diligent effort was made by the City Council in 2021 to develop a plan to address these needs, and whereas community involvement is greatly desired in formulating a long-term plan to address the needs of Creswell roads and sidewalks, whereas the mayor, with consent of the council, may establish by resolution ad hoc committees to perform specified investigatory or advisory functions, now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Creswell, Oregon, that there is hereby created the Creswell Roads Ad Hoc Committee with a charge and timeline given by the mayor. Members of the committee shall consist of 3 city councilors, those serving on the Transportation and Public Works Committee, 3 residents, and 1 non-resident. The committee will be supported by city staff members as designated by the city manager. The committee shall be governed by all state and local public meeting rules and laws. Attachment A, listing members of the committee, the mayor's charge and timeline, and other information about the committee is hereby approved as part of the resolution. So on the back side, we have the goal, which is to create a long-range plan for the maintenance and replacement of Creswell roads and sidewalks. The goal will be achieved when there is a plan in place with a sustainable funding mechanism adequate to implement the plan. Charge, at the first meeting, select a chair and a secretary. The chair will notify city recorder of all meeting dates and times. The secretary will keep minutes of all meetings and submit them to the city recorder. B, review the transportation safety plan for the city of Creswell to understand current needs and priorities. Committee members may wish to take a tour of the city streets to enhance their understanding of road needs and priorities. C, receive a report from staff on current road funding sources available in the city budget and reserve accounts. D, review the work done in 2021 by the Transportation and Public Works Committee with special attention to the proposal of placing a gas tax on the ballot. E, explore additional funding sources. F, create a long-range plan for funding Creswell roads and sidewalks. G, present the plan to the City Council and engage with the Council to fine-tune the plan. H, partner with the City Council in presenting the plan to the community and building support for its adoption. Committee members will be Councilors Kevin Prachu, Shelley Clark, Tammy Shuck, residents Don Eric, Kelly Coughlin, Chelsea Pisani, non-resident Bill Spencer. City Manager Amberg and additional staff as assigned. Timeline. Chair of the committee will bring an update to the City Council at the March 28 and April 25 work sessions. The full committee will attend and present the plan to the City Council at the May 23rd work session. Committee will continue working on the plan until adoption by the City Council. If the plan involves a vote by the public, The committee will continue with community engagement and efforts to build support until the vote has been taken. So there's the charge. What do you think, Don?
Guilty as charged.
There you go. Okay. So, council, I'm entertaining a motion to approve Resolution 2022-04 to create the Roads Ad Hoc Committee. Councilor Inman.
Yes, thank you. I move that the City Council approve Resolution 2022-04, a resolution giving the mayor authority to appoint a roads ad hoc committee.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Shuck seconds the motion. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Council will vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And I've asked Council President Prachu, who is also the chair of the Transportation Committee, to convene the first meeting. Item B, removing barriers to housing development. And this is Matty Phillips and Curtis Thomas.
So as you all recall, during the work session, I gave a presentation with Maddie about our removing barriers to housing project, including developing on wetlands and the possibility of hiring a wetlands consultant, that being Branch Engineering. And so on February 17th, the proposal closed, and so we had the RFP open for 4 weeks, and I think the question is we only received one proposal over this 4-week period, and after talking with some other planning commission members, that is a typical response rate. And so we've been wondering if we should have left the RFP open for more to attract more proposals, or should we just move forward with what we have as presented? And after talking about the proposal with the planning commission, we felt that it was a relatively strong proposal. We thought that their high points were their expertise and how they can diagnose and evaluate wetlands. That being Maddie and that's not our strong suit. That's not what we're trying to do. Other parts of the project include an audit of our current plans and code policies and how they interact with wetlands. And the other part of the project is developing policies that talk about how we can develop with these wetlands and how we categorize them. And so I think my thought is that between my skill set and Maddie's skill set and with the other skill set of the commissioners, we can develop the policies, but I felt that it was really important that Branch Engineering had that wetland expertise background. And so that was the conclusion that the Planning Commission came to as well, and they recommended that the council move forward with Branch Engineering as our wetlands consultant. And do you all have any questions after reviewing the proposal or any follow-up about the project?
Council members, any questions? Thank you for presenting this to us. I read through it and marked a number of highlights just to refresh my memory on it. Thank you, Curtis. Okay, if we have no questions, thank you. And council, I'm entertaining a motion on item 6B, removing barriers to housing development. Councilor Clark.
I move that the City Council award Branch Engineering Incorporated a contract in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for wetland consultant services.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Osborne.
I second the motion.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Move to item C, which is the adoption of city manager goals for 2022.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council reviewed these goals at the work session and added a goal of updating the airport's strategic plan for the next 5 years. Otherwise, it's the same list of goals that was discussed at the work session, and they're here before you tonight for your approval.
Council members, any questions for Manager Amberg? Okay, then I'm entertaining a motion on item 6C. Councilor Prachu.
I move that the city council adopt the recommended city manager goals for 2022.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Castilla?
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further council discussion? Council will then proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6D, amending the evaluation policies for the city attorney and municipal judge.
Thank you, Mayor. As you recall, there was at the work session, there was a discussion on when and how the municipal judge and the city attorney would be evaluated. And part of the process was that the mayor preferred to do the interviews at the end of the meeting rather than at the beginning of a city council meeting. So the actual procedures and policies needed to be updated to say that it will just happen, and you can decide on when that makes the most sense for you, whether it's at the beginning of a meeting or at the end of the meeting. So these two policies were rewritten, that small section was rewritten to allow for that ability to make that decision.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate the way you wrote both of these up. It's very clear that we do meet, but not specified when, so the council has the discretion to make that call. So thank you. All right, any questions for Manager Amber or any discussion? Okay, then I'm entertaining a motion on item 6D. Councilor Castilla.
I move that the city council amend the evaluation policies for the city attorney and municipal judge as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Inman seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We turn to the back side, which is upcoming meetings. And a reminder that tomorrow night, the town hall meeting will be convened at New Hope Baptist Church at 6 p.m. And then we have our city council work session coming up on the 28th. Just to let you know, it's at that meeting that we will be doing our ALICE training at the very end, which we need to allow between an hour and 2 for that whole, we need to allow 2 hours, which means the first part of the meeting maybe goes an hour, which means we'll be here till 9. And I promise I won't leave early this time. So just be prepared for that meeting in 2 weeks. All right? And with that, we are adjourned.
Or something comfortable.
Or something comfortable.